Hello, dear viewers. Today I'm going to be talking about how President Trump and Vice President Harris reacted to hurricanes in their term in office. Let's begin. Hello, I am a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today I'm going to be talking about nationalism in a foreign country outside South Asia. The country for today is America, and I'll be discussing the performance of current administration of President Biden and Vice President Harris and the previous administration of Donald Trump in their response to hurricanes, which are the most one of the most common natural disasters that affect America every year. And I want to see how each of them perform, what results of each hurricanes in their terms were, and uh, see how they're performing now, how the current hurricane that just hit America, two hurricanes Milton and Helene, have affected America. Let's get started. That have happened during President Trump's term and during Vice President Harris's term. Now, why am I comparing President Trump to Vice President Harris and not to President Biden? It's because Vice President Harris is the candidate for the President of the United States, and she she bears some responsibility by vicariously from Biden being part of his administration and being his second in command. And Biden himself has said that he delegated a lot of his work to Kamala Harris in the domestic area. So we can presume that Harris had a lot of influence on the policies and actions taken for natural disasters. So it would be fair to compare Trump's performance to Harris's performance. And especially since next, if Harris wins, then Americans will be living under her as president, not President Biden. Let's get started. So let's see how there were about uh, said there were many more hurricanes during President Trump's term than the Vice President Harris's term, and they were all of different categories. Where, but both had light categories of one and two, one in each, but and they also had heavy category hurricanes like five and four. Here we can see President Trump's hurricanes were Harvey, Irma, Nate, Florence, Michael, Barry, Dorian, Hannah, Isaias, Laura, Sally, Delta, Zeta. And the deaths were in Harvey were 107, Irma 134. Then it decreases to 48, 54, 70, and rises a little to 74, falls again to 3, goes up to the same level of 84, which is close to 74, falls again to 9, and goes a little up to 17, goes again back to the mean of the 80s, and goes low to 469. The financial losses were $125 billion for Harvey, and since then, they never went past $100 billion. In Irma, it was $77 billion. In Nate, it was 787 million. Florence, 24 billion, so on. So we can see that the deaths from hurricanes decreased during Trump's administration, and the financial losses also decreased. Now, You might say that this is only due to um, him having more hurricanes of lower categories. For that, we need to then examine how Category 4 and 5 hurricanes were affected America during Trump's administration and compare them to Harris's. Harris had six hurricanes: Hurricane Ida, Nicholas, Ian, Idalia, Helene, and Milton. Ida had 112 deaths, Nicholas 2, then 161 and 10. Then this year, Helene has had more than 250 deaths. The total is not confirmed. And so far, 26 have died in Hurricane Milton. The losses were 75 billion for Ida and went up to 113 billion in due to Ian and fell to 3.5 billion. It was also 1.1 billion during Nicholas Nidalia, but has now kind of reached this year has been above 30 billion, with Helene being 30 above 39.8 billion. Here we can see that, like Trump, and intuitively would be expected, that lower category hurricanes have caused less damage. And let's see how her fours and five category hurricanes compared to Trump's. So she's had three four had category four hurricanes, and Donald Trump has had three category four hurricanes too. We can see that he had deaths of 107, 134, and 81. And we also should, I think, count number of category 5, where he had 74 deaths. And Harris had 112 deaths, then 161 deaths, and more than 250 deaths. And in a category 5, more than 26 deaths. And it just hit landfall a few days ago, and I think so we can expect this number to rise, although I hope not. And so we can see that uh, the number of deaths under Harris's administration for high category hurricanes is greater than Donald Trump's. And in fact, category 5 hurricane for him caused 74 deaths and about $25.2 billion. So we can see it's already that Milton is going to be more expensive to America than Michael was. So yeah, I'd say that President Trump's results related to hurricanes are superior to Vice President Harris's. I don't know anything about geography or natural disasters. I'm simply looking at the results that are publicly available. If somebody who is more knowledgeable on hurricanes wants to correct me, please do so in the comments. Apparently, Donald Trump has criticized the response of the current government, and Biden has said that he is lying, that FEMA has not done enough to help the victims. And Trump said that they have been ineffective and slow in steering the government's efforts. And however, on his own, Trump has done a lot. He has used one of his company's Florida hotels to house over 200 linemen who are helping in the storm's aftermath. Trump has launched a GoFundMe campaign for victims of Hurricane Helene in Georgia, which has raised more than $7 million so far. And yeah, then Senator Bill Hagerty of a Republican senator from Tennessee, said he criticized a federal emergency management agency, FEMA, for mishandling Hurricane Helene relief in his state and neighboring North Carolina. He said the agency has abandoned its intended mission and was putting those here illegally ahead of Americans. He says you got the partisan media fact checkers that are saying, well, FEMA's funding lines for illegal immigration resettlement are different from the funding lines for disaster recovery. Well, they shouldn't have a funding line for, illegal immigration resettlement. That's exactly correct. FEMA should not be dealing with illegal immigrants at all. They should be deported. That's it. That is all you need to do. What can we make of this? We can see that uh, currently FEMA has not been performing its role properly and neutrally. It is engaging in identity politics by helping illegal immigrants, and when they should not be helped at all. And the sadly, there have been more deaths on this in and Vice President Harris's term than in President Trump's. Although he had more hurricanes, the in severity of the consequence of those hurricanes reduced during the end of his term, while uh, the consequences of those disasters have increased during Harris's term towards its end. So I would say that President Trump handled natural disasters like hurricanes better than Vice President Harris. So we can expect that if he comes to power in this year's election, that he will have a better response to hurricanes and natural disasters in America than Vice President Harris would have if she wins the election. But ultimately, I am not an American. I am an Indian living in India, so I'm not going to tell Americans who they should vote for. I'm simply telling who I think would be a better president and who I hope to win. I really, really hope that Donald Trump wins. I have spoken about this in a previous video. You can see the link to that video on the screen. And I want to express my condolences to the people who have died and the families of the people who have died in the recent hurricanes. And I hope that everyone gets the recovery and that they need, and that they can pick up their lives and hopefully uh, go back to some level of normalcy. And yeah, that's all I want to say. If you want to see other videos about nationalism in foreign countries, click here. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I use for this video, click the link in the description below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.